Hello everyone, today we'll use the P3 machine to make our first project. The keychain I'm holding was customized using the generator in Studio. The text and patterns inside can all be modified very easily. During the making process, I'll share some precautions for operating the machine as well as some tips so that everyone can quickly get started with the new machine. Next, you can follow along with me. Before cutting, we need to complete the preparation. First, we need to place the material to be cut into the machine. There are certain requirements for the material here. Transparent and mirror materials cannot be measured directly. Black matte materials may fail to be measured. Therefore, we can place a sheet of A4 paper or apply masking tape at the measurement position before measuring. For example, if focusing is needed here, apply it here. This helps avoid focus failure. Here, I'm using a 3mm basewood sheet, so no additional operation is needed. When placing the material, try to place it in the center of the base plate. Be sure not to let the material block these 6 viewpoints or this slat slot. If the slat slot is blocked, it will cause defocusing or even measurement failure. If the viewpoints are blocked, image capture will fail. Next, secure the material. Use the included clamps to secure the 4 corners of the material. The purpose of securing it is to prevent the material from being shifted by the suction of the exhaust system and the airflow from the air nozzle during engraving, and also to prevent the material from lifting or bending. For the basewood sheet I'm using, it is relatively heavy and flat, so it can also be left unsecured. Another thing to note is that the QR code in the lower right corner is the icon used by the machine to identify the material. When securing the material, be sure not to block this QR code. Otherwise, the material will fail to be identified. Next, let's show how to secure the material. First, snap the buckle up from underneath so that it rests against this blade strip. Do not cover the QR code, then press it down to hold the material in place. If smoke cannot be exhausted directly, please note that direct connection to AP2 is not supported. This is because AP2 does not provide enough suction for P3. It is recommended to connect directly to AP2 Max for the best smoke extraction performance. If you can vent the smoke outdoors, you do not need to connect a purifier. You can connect directly to the standard IF2 2.0 inline duct fan for the best smoke extraction performance. Minimize the length and bends of the exhaust duct as much as possible to improve smoke extraction efficiency. Connect the USB cable to the computer and then turn on the machine. Open Studio. Because this case requires credits, click the upper right corner to register first, then click Log In. After registration, you will receive a certain number of credits. Next, create a new project. Connect the P3 machine. Once the connection is successful, the light here will turn green. Click Close. Import the pattern we need to cut. Click Applications in the left menu bar. Scroll with the mouse wheel to find Generator. Select Keychain. The advantage of this generator is that it provides us with a standard template. The text inside and the font size can both be modified in a modular way. Next, let's demonstrate it. The pattern here can be changed to the initial of your own name. It can also be set to an animal pattern. The text here can also be changed to your own name. You can click Font Text to change the font style and font size. Select Font Style. Move the mouse left or right to change font size. You can also increase or decrease letter spacing. The content in this area can also be modified. For example, you can change it to your own phone number. You can click Font Text 2 to change the font style and font size. Click this option to select font style. Move the mouse left or right to change font size. You can also increase or decrease letter spacing. The keyring hole here can also be redesigned. If you do not need a hole, you can turn off this button. If you need one, turn it on. The size of this hole can also be designed according to your needs. For example, you can make it larger or smaller. After confirming the pattern, click Import to Canvas to import the pattern into the canvas. After importing it into the canvas, you can continue modifying the style in the toolbar. You can click Zoom in to enlarge the pattern. Then move it to the center. You can also hold down the Control key and scroll the mouse wheel to zoom in. Select the pattern and click Edit. You can modify the style again. If you are sure that no further changes to the pattern are needed, you can select Done. This will hide the editor. Click Edit to continue editing the pattern. You can also select Explode. However, after selecting Explode, it will become a regular pattern and can no longer be edited in a modular way. Here, I'll click Done. Enable Auto Mode. The machine can perform automatic positioning, which means it can automatically identify the material position, automatically identify the material, and automatically measure the distance and focus without manual intervention. There are two ways to enable Auto Mode. One is to click Enable Auto Mode in the software. The other is to start it through the control knob. Next, let's demonstrate how to start Auto Mode through the control knob. First, find the Auto Mode interface. This slash indicates that Auto Mode is turned off. Click the control knob and select On. Select Confirm. Auto Mode is now enabled. After enabling Auto Mode, follow the prompts in the software. We need to open the lid. Open the lid to its highest position. The distant view camera is integrated into the lid. It is used to identify the material, position it, and measure the distance. Please note that the light only turns on in Auto Mode. Wait until the light above turns green. This indicates that identification is complete. Then you can close the lid. This completes automatic photo capture and automatic focusing. Because there is a QR code in the lower right corner of the wood board, the machine can automatically identify this material through the QR code and match the corresponding parameters. We just need to select Apply. Since this involves cutting, there will be some safety prompts. Select Got It. We can zoom out on the canvas to see the whole view. You can also position and focus manually. Next, let's demonstrate it. First, turn off Auto Mode. Click Switch to Manual Mode. Then open the lid. In Manual Mode, this light will not turn on. After the photo capture is complete, you can close the lid. Click Refresh Background. The photo was captured successfully. Close the lid. If masking tape or white paper is applied to transparent or highly reflective materials, select the corresponding position when focusing manually. Click Precise Measure to measure the distance. Click the position where you want to measure the distance. This is Manual Mode. Generally, we use Auto Mode because it is more convenient and can reduce many operating steps. Next, adjust the position of the pattern. Move the pattern onto the material. Select Mode. Since we are only cutting a small pattern, we can directly select Lift Platform Processing. Select Material. Because our material has a QR code, it can be identified automatically, so we can skip this step. If there is no QR code, click Material and select the corresponding option. Here, I'm using 3mm plywood. Select Apply. Select the laser head type. To cut wood boards, we need to select CO2 module. After selecting all the materials, we will see 3 processing modes: Score Mode, Engrave Mode, and Cut Mode. Our pattern happens to involve all 3 processing methods, so we will introduce them one by one. Click the blank area of the pattern. Generator has already set up the patterns for these 3 modes. The first red line is in Cut Mode. It needs to cut through the wood board to cut out the pattern. The second black line is in Score Mode. It can engrave a black line outline on the surface. These are the lines that will be engraved. The third black pattern is in Engrave Mode. It can engrave a black-filled pattern on the surface. Next, click the red line. Let's introduce the parameters inside in detail. Click One-Click Set. Because the machine can identify the QR code, or when I manually select the corresponding material, all parameters will be automatically set. The white areas here indicate where the material can be cut through. The black area indicates where the material is not cut through. Here, power 90% is selected by default, along with a speed of 50 millimeters per second. This means these parameters work best for a 3mm basewood board. Of course, we can also select other parameters or even adjust the parameters manually. Click Close. Next, let's introduce power and speed. What do these two important parameters mean? Move the mouse here, and an animation will appear. We can see that the higher the power, the deeper the engraving or cutting. This is the processing speed. We can see that the higher the speed, the shallower the engraving or cutting. Next, let's introduce the number of passes. This refers to how many times the pattern is processed. Because our power is high enough, it only needs to be processed once. This is overcut. We can understand it by looking at the animation. When we cut a closed pattern on relatively thick material, there is always a small area at the end that cannot be cut through, causing the pattern to be impossible to remove. At this point, we need to enable the overcut function. It cuts a little more to fully cut through the closed loop shape. My material is a 3mm wood board, which is relatively thin, so there is no need to enable it. Next is kerf offset. Because the laser beam itself has a certain width, the cutout pattern will be slightly smaller than the design. In my case, the effect is not significant, but if assembly or fitting is involved, it needs to be enabled. Otherwise, the assembled parts may be a little loose, and the fit will not be tight. Next is focus descent. It is generally used for cutting thick materials. For example, materials over 10 millimeters thick. Lowering the focus can enhance the cutting ability. Next, let's introduce tab generation. When cutting material, if we do not want the material to fall onto the base plate, we can enable this function. It leaves very small connection points along the cutting line. After cutting, the pattern will not fall off. When you need to use it, simply detach it. This is the setting for airflow of air pump. Generally, when cutting, the air pump should be set to the maximum. When the air pump works at high power, it can blow away smoke and debris, improving cutting ability and the cutting surface quality. So setting this to 100% is correct. Next is power control mode. Constant power means that regardless of the speed, the laser outputs at a constant power. Dynamic power means that the laser power automatically decreases at corners. This prevents the corners from being burned. All of the above parameters are set automatically. Under normal circumstances, they do not need to be modified. Unless you have special requirements, you can adjust them yourself. Normally, we can accurately position the specific processing area of the material using distant view photo capture. If you want more precise positioning, there are two methods. The first is through framing. Click Framing. Then press the control knob. Then we can see the machine's red dot moving along a rectangle. This rectangle indicates the processing position. Another method is close shot. Click Close Shot. Select the processing position. The camera icon must be placed on the material. This is because a measurement is also performed during close-up image capture. Placing it in an area without material will cause photo capture to fail. Click here. Then the canvas will display a more detailed image of the area. We can zoom in to take a look. If you find that the pattern position is incorrect, you can adjust it. You can right-click the close-up image to delete it. After confirming the processing position, let's introduce Preview. In Preview, you can confirm whether the actual cutting position is correct. Click Close. After confirming all the parameters, click Process. There is an estimated time in the upper right corner. Click Preview Processing Path to preview it. You can change the preview speed. Click Play. It will fill the pattern first, then engrave the lines, and finally perform cutting. This mode can be used as needed. It is not a required operation. It is just introduced here. After confirming that everything is correct, click Start to begin. Press the control knob, and cutting and engraving will officially begin. We can see the entire processing process in the software. There are 2 cameras inside that you can switch between. You can also see the engraving position from the side. You can also turn off the camera and turn it back on when needed. This is estimated time. After processing is complete, it is recommended to wait until the smoke has been fully extracted before opening the lid and removing the workpiece. If the area around the engraving or cutting turns black or yellow, you can reduce the air pump power for engraving, or use a lint-free cloth dipped in alcohol to wipe off the blackened or yellowed areas. The cut surface is very clean. There are no charred debris residues on my hands, and the processing efficiency is very high. If there is debris on the tray after processing, it is best to clean it every time to ensure efficient operation of the device. Finally, assemble it with the keyring. Finished product display.